So when's your next fight's coming up for X, David?
We're going to start traveling a little bit to New York and Ohio and around those areas because we're sick of fighting and beating the same people over and over and over again. So we're going to try and enter some competitions in those areas and travel in other gyms for sparring.
I'll tell you what, Ohio has a great amateur scene.
Yes, I know it does. I'm friends with Otha Jones on Facebook, and okay. I would like to get out to his gym. And the goal right now is we're going to turn Xavier and David pro at 17.
Nice. Well, I have no doubt they're going to be champions. I've said it before. In public. I'll say it again. That. And I don't do that. I don't just go out and say this guy's going to be a champion.
With the compliments.
No, I'm kind of an asshole. I'm not going to give him as much as
Oh, who? You, James? No way.
No, but if I see real talent, I'm going to let you know I see talent.
The problem is this day and age, honesty can easily get you confused with being an asshole. So
true.
I prefer honesty over somebody blowing smoke up my ass.
Right. And, I've lost a lot of good friends that were trainers, and I told them the truth about their fighter. I'm like, hey, your fighter could use some work. And like, what do you mean they could use work? They could beat this person. They could use work. And they don't want to talk anymore. So don't ask me if you don't want to know.
Well, that's what I said earlier about their ego being involved.
Yeah.
I listen to anything anybody has to say. I look at anything that comes up as an opportunity to learn.
Yeah.
That's the one thing in boxing. You can never stop learning as a trainer or as a fighter.
Absolutely.
And unfortunately, even if you are the type of person that don't really want to hurt anybody's feeling, when it comes to the sport of boxing, that's a sport where you have to be very blunt, and upfront.
Yeah, of course. People's lives are in your hand.
Exactly.
Your kid don't win a basketball, game or he misses a shot. He misses a shot, nothing happens to him. He screws up in boxing. There's physical damage, that could be life altering, life shortening, or life ending. So,
I heard a comment. I heard a comment from Michael Carbajal back in the day, and they were asking him about the fighters working at his gym and him helping out. And they said, "Why do you do it? You got money. You don't need to be working with his kids." He said to himself, am I working every day to build these fighters, or are they working every day to build me? That's something I have to look at. Are you working to build them, or are you looking for them to build your ego? Which I think a lot of trainers, they have these kids out there to build their ego to make, and, I got on my rant the other day. I don't know if you read it about being a matchmaker and a trainer at the same time. Pissed me the fuck off. I'm going to be honest with you. It pissed me off. How can you say you're looking out for a guy?
You're bitching about that, and you're 100% right. And you got people out there that want to be a matchmaker, a manager, promoter, and trainer. I know people that do that.
That's like petting a dog and sticking a knife in its back at the same time. You know what I mean? How can you look out for somebody and feed them to the wolves?
It's such an exploitive business. I when I got involved with David and Xavier, the gym owner is a really great guy. He's one of the few decent people I ever met in boxing. And I told him, I said, listen, I've been involved with this since the year 2000. And I said, I haven't met one person that I've gotten friendly with in this game because they're all scumbags.
It's cutthroat.
And yeah, they're fake. They're phony. Here today, gone tomorrow. And the sooner you come to that realization in this business, the better off you're going to be. It doesn't mean you have to be like them, but you have to recognize that that's what you're dealing with.
True.
So you have to watch your back at every turn.
Bernard Hopkins said he met more trustworthy people in prison than he did in the boxing world.
Yeah.
I believe it.
Well, I do too.
That's the pot calling the kettle black. There.
True.
I don't care.
It's true. Yeah. But you know what? What he said made sense, because I have my opinion on Bernard too. But I can see that because everybody, it seems like they all have an agenda. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It is. It's a cutthroat business. Like I said, I've seen it.
I couldn't do it.
Unfortunately, I know we all have, but I've seen it over and over.
Yeah.
And you say, oh, well, the pros, I've seen it done more in the amateurs. But, yeah, once you get to the pros, you'll see people come out the woodworks who never had anything to do with boxing, and all of a sudden they got their hands in it somewhere. They think there's a shit ton of money in it. There's not, but they don't care. They'll rob anybody. They'll screw anybody over, and you get them to that point, and you help them out. You bring people in to do things. Next thing you know, something goes wrong. You turn your back. They're in bed with the person who you have. But it happens, and it is. I mean, it's a cutthroat business in the ring and outside of the ring.
Well, it's sad to say, but boxing maybe ran smoother and cleaner when the mob ran it.
It was.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean,
For sure.
okay, you threw a couple fights here and there to get a title shot, but I mean, shit, there wasn't 300 people with different job titles robbing you. It was one or two. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
Yeah, this sport is something.
you know what, though? Like I said, you have to have a deep love for the sport, or you wouldn't do it. I told
Go ahead.
No, I told Kelly boxing's like a bad relationship. It really is. The minute you think you're
when
done
a
with
girl
it, you're
is
letting it
always
right back in the
cheating on
house
you.
again,
Yeah. That's a good way to put it. That was
It's true. It's true. You're like, hey, I'm never going to fucking watch a fight again. I'm tired of getting screwed over. Saturday night comes like, all right, maybe this one time I think they may have changed.
Yeah.
And sure enough, same thing happened. She's beating on your door at 3 a.m. with her ex. You know what I mean? So,
There's so much wrong. There's so much wrong with the sport, and I think I blame a large part of it on the fans, because the moment you have a less than 100% performance, they question your ability.
Oh,
If
my God.
God forbid you take a loss, you're a bum and we're a built-up fighter that never had anything. Yeah. And look at the greatest fighters, the people we call the greatest fighters that ever lived.
Yep.
Sugar Ray Robinson had losses. Muhammad Ali had losses. When you're the best fighting the best, eventually you're even if you're better than the other guy, you might just not show up 100% that night.
Well,
and people don't know, fans don't know, laymen don't know what a fighter goes through in a training camp. To get through that camp without getting injured, and a hand injury, a rib injury, something wrong with your face,
or to get through that camp being injured, but without
telling anybody.
Yeah, without telling anybody or worsening it.
Sick.
Well,
We're getting sick because your immune system is so depleted from all the constant work, and then you're dieting and you're trying to take weight off and still trying to have this tremendous workload on you as far as workouts. They have no clue, and they sit behind computers and they sit at newspapers and TV stations, and they point their finger and they judge, and and I always say that they couldn't last one day in the world of a professional fighter.
Nope.
So I really
most of them couldn't last
personally.
one day in the field of a regular job. That's why they sit there and write. That's why they sit there and write and say the things they do on a computer. They live off of somebody else's accomplishments or failures. They got to wait to see what somebody else does to make a living.
Well, I was on I was on a box. I was on Facebook the other day, and somebody was talking about Kelly read it. We was talking about we were talking about Golovkin. He said, "Well, as soon as they first get their first loss, they're no longer greats." And I was like, "Did you just fucking think I fucking thought you did?" I said, "Robinson, Hagler, Hearns all had losses, and they're not greats."
Yeah.
The guy said, I put this on my mother. He said, "I just want to let you know that I was an elite amateur in the 90s. I'm like, okay, but what does that have to do with our conversation?
Yeah.
And then I proceeded to run him down pretty good. But he said, the only thing he had for me was something I'm racist, which, I'm racist now.
Oh God.
Yeah. Or what else was it? That I'm a moron. Okay, I'm a moron, but I'm definitely not a racist. I'll give you that. I'm a moron. But one loss to another great does not define who you are, your fighting ability or character.
You guys are both familiar with Henry Armstrong, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay. You know what his record was in his first 5 fights?
No, I don't.
He was 1 win, 4 losses, and I forget. I think he was knocked out in his first he was knocked out in his first professional fight.
Wow.
And then he went on and a historic undefeated run. And when there was 8 divisions in boxing, he had the featherweight, the lightweight, the welterweight title simultaneously. and fought the middleweight champion Serafino Garcia to a draw.
Yeah.
And he did that all in the span of a year or two.
Wow.
So imagine if he would have judged himself based on those first 4 or 5 fights where he was 1-4 or 1-3 and knocked out in his pro debut. You know, that's what fans are so friggin' hard on fighters and unappreciative of what they go through and what they put themselves through in camp, let alone the fight and training on a daily basis. It's disgusting.
Real quick on that though, getting into it, even outside of the fighting, I just did an interview, for instance, I think last week, and they've been putting it on. So I give, from a former world champion standpoint, who's been in world title fights, numerous world title fights. I gave my opinion on some of the stuff that happened in the middleweight division. I had a lot of nice reply backs on that, but then I had people on there commenting,
"Oh, is he drunk?
Yeah, is he drunk, or is is his brain still there?
Did he start drugs?
No, I got these.
I read the interview. You presented yourself in a very articulate,
telling it from
manner. It was from
you
real world experience.
Yeah, and one or two, you had one or two people on there saying that. I mean, and they're arguing with me. I'm not a guy that had 2 fights or just watch boxing and making these statements, and I'm not saying everything I say is gospel or 100% right, but I believe that I have some knowledge firsthand of what I'm talking about. That's like, these are the same type people though that, watch Grey's Anatomy and go tell a surgeon exactly how to do an operation though, and what he's doing wrong. So
they want to scrub in too.
So it does get frustrating on that.
But no, it does. We just talked to our last guest, Shannon Torres from the WBC, and she said the exact same thing you did verbatim about boxing fans. They're the worst fans in the world and the best fans.
Yeah, we're not knocking all boxing fans. That's why we have the show.
Let me clarify what I'm saying. They're the best fans as loyal goes, right? But they're the worst when it comes to hating on you. Yeah. They will threaten you. They'll threaten your family. They'll threaten to kill your dog. They'll do whatever they can to get to you. You know what I mean? Yeah. They take it personally.
All from behind a computer.
They take it personally like they were the ones involved in the fight. You know what I mean?
They'll call the fighter the bum as they're sitting there, just lost their job and sitting on their Facebook before they cut off their Wi-Fi and cable.
They'll say you're a bum. I'm going to screw your wife, and then they see you the next week and want to take a picture with you.
Yeah. Or you don't hear from them the following week because, like I said, their Armstrong cable or their cable provider got shut off.
Hey, don't be knocking Armstrong. I love them.
And they don't have no more Facebook to sit there and talk shit. So
that's what I'm saying. They have no knowledge. All they see is you for 30 or 36 minutes on a TV screen. They see your performance. They don't see, Kelly, when did you start your amateur career?
8, 9 years old, 92.
Okay, 92. They don't see that you started as an 8 or 9 year old kid, that you were in the gym training while their kids were out playing or playing video games or playing tag or riding a bike. You're in a gym competing in a sport that many a grown man doesn't have the character or courage to compete in, and you're doing it as a kid. And you're doing it day after day after day, year round, because there's no off season, sometimes coming in on weekends too, sometimes training twice a day. And that's your life. So, they have no comprehension of what a fighter goes through. And that continues all the way through, and only gets worse. As your career progresses and your competitions get to a more elite level, and then you turn pro, and then it's like you're starting all over again. And, they have no comprehension of what you as a fighter goes through.
And the weirdest thing of it, the better you do, the more criticism and more negativity follows with it. Yep.
Well, Joe, like always, we appreciate you coming on, and it's been fun. And I want to extend welcome you coming back anytime. We'd love to have you on.
I would love to.
All right, sounds
Kelly,
good.
I have a quick question for you.
Yes.
I actually stole something from your repertoire that I love, and I wanted to know if it's something you were aware that you did, or something that was done by design, or something that you came up with in your own.
It's probably licking ass.
I gave that up for Lent.
I'm going to refer to the Zertucci fight because it was a really good, they caught it on camera really well. You do a shot where you'll throw a long jab, and then it's almost like a really long, not even a slapping hook. It's like your left hand is out there and you just turn your thumb over slightly, and then you throw a right hand behind it. I use it to this day. I call it the slap shot. Mm-hmm. And it is, I've seen it work so many times in your fights where as soon as you touch him with that left hook, and it's really long, your arm is almost completely extended. It's just enough that the guy pulls his right hand outside to almost try and catch it. And when you do that hook, your lead foot comes out a little bit to the left and lines your shoulder up in a straight line with the guy's chin, your right shoulder with the guy's chin, and your right hand always splits the gloves, always finds the chin. And I was curious if that was by design, something you came up with on your own, or if you were even aware that you did it.
Yes, I know we did it, that I did it. Actually, what that was just a setup for the right hand.
Yeah.
You know, I used to do that on the bag a lot, actually. On a regular heavy bag, it's hard to really throw a hook on it. You know, it just feels awkward, everything else. But so I would hit it, and that was kind of like the slingshot for the right hand. That's what it was. It was to bring yours up, and then when you come back with that hook, which, as you've seen, you know, like you said, it's nothing hard. And I would just tap that, and I would kind of spread their hands a little bit naturally. Yeah, they would move their hands wide, and then that left the middle, wide open down the middle for the right hand. And then you're getting all that, and you're getting all that torque because
you roll back. You roll back into a right hand.
Yeah, because I'm pivoting that front foot a little bit, not a lot. I'm not over exaggerating it, but I'm pivoting, and I'm getting enough torque to come through with the right hand, and it was called my zinger. So
I have a name for it too. It's funny because when I do it with the kids, it works so well that there were times where they could pull it off 4 or 5 times in a row and land it every single time because it's such I don't know.
Be careful.
What it is
the only
that,
thing you got to be careful about is you got to know the right timing. I mean, if you're in the middle of the ring and they're still active, you don't want to leave your left hand out that long, But when they're like against the ropes, or if they're more or less in a shell position in the middle of the ring, that's a perfect time to throw that.
It's hard to protect against too. Guys don't seem to be able to get out of the way with it.
You could actually send it to the body too. You could send that same punch to the body and do the same thing.
Yeah. People have a hard time of getting out of the way of it.
Yeah, take that left hook, ding the body, and they'll move right into the right hand.
The reason why I mentioned it specifically with you, Kelly, is that everybody always kind of pigeonholed you into being a puncher, and I think we talked about it a little bit on Facebook. Those punches don't land unless you know how to box.
Yeah, or if you have speed.
Yeah, and also your defense. I thought that your defense was greatly underappreciated because people were so focused on what you were doing to the other guy. They didn't see that, punches that the other guy was throwing, they were being rolled off the shoulders, caught in the hands, slipped underneath. So I had that, have the opportunity to talk to you a little bit. I wanted to tell you that, that was definitely didn't go unnoticed with your more astute fans. So it was a pleasure to watch you box throughout your career.
Well, thanks, Joe. I really appreciate that.
And hey, we're planning a trip out to Philly sometime, so we'd love to come see you.
Yeah, for sure. All you got to do is let me know when. There's a great place to eat around here. It's called the Spartaco. It's a private Italian club. Food is out of this world. So
Kelly's already packing. What did you do, Joe? Kelly literally left the show and started packing.
Hey, got to get some carbs in with my protein, man.
The food's great. So if you guys ever make it here, I'd love for you to meet the kids. They watch your fights, and
we love to.
I talk about you all the time too, James, with all the stuff you've done in boxing, all the connections you have and stuff. So they're aware of who you guys are. So I'm sure that they would like to meet you. So
I appreciate
whatever happens, that would be great.
We greatly appreciate that, Joe. And we're not that far. We're not that far away either. We're only 6 hour, 5 hour drive.
Yeah, 5 hours.
So
they're coming to Ohio too.
Yeah. And when that happens, I'll call.
Of course, you got a place to stay, buddy.
Sweet.
And like I said, I'd love to have you on anytime as a third set of ears.
All right. You just call me. You let me know when if you got some time to talk, if you have some time you need filled in. I always like to talk boxing with real boxing people. So
that'd be great.
It was a pleasure to be on your show.
That'd be great. We'd just like to have you on there so you could ask people questions yourself.
Awesome.
All right. It was great talking to you, Joe.
All right.
All right, Joe.
You
take
too,
care,
guys.
bud.
Thanks for having me. Kelly, it was a pleasure watching you. James, it's been a pleasure getting to know you, and I look forward to talking to you in the future.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right.
Bye.